Pests beware, your fields have heroes. The Pests and Predators podcast is brought to you by Field Heroes and is powered by the Western Grains Research Foundation. Learn how beneficial insects fight pests and protect your crops. Visit fieldheroes.ca today.
I'm Lindsay Smith with Real Ag Radio and RealAgriculture.com, and we're going to have a very interesting discussion on a very serious topic, but one that does lend itself to some really fun sayings, like squealing on pigs. Joining me now, Dr. Wayne Lees. He's the coordinator for Squeal on Pigs Manitoba. Welcome here, Wayne.
Oh, thanks for having me.
All right, so let's back up just a step, because we're going to talk about an event that happened last week. We're going to talk about the overall initiative. But first, I want to really tackle, the size and scope of the wild pig problem in Canada.
Sure. Well, wild pigs are what we define as any pig outside of a fence or outside of human control. So that includes escaped domestic pigs, things such as pot-bellied pigs that have escaped and are living on the landscape. But the most serious issue really is with what we call Eurasian wild boar. So these are the very hairy, very lean pigs with a very long snout. And the real damage that they cause is that they can survive in the wild. They have survived in our winters, and they really pose risks in three areas. The first area is that they're an environmental threat because they're an invasive species. And so they tend to really destroy environments, and they'll disrupt nesting birds. They'll eat small mammals and reptiles. They'll eat acorns that deprive other animals of those food sources. So they really do change the landscape. The real big reason that people are interested, though, from an agricultural point of view, is that these animals can carry lots and lots of diseases. So they're a potential vector for all kinds of foreign animal diseases, such as African swine fever, which is really the triggering event why a lot of activity has happened in the wild pig area right now. But we shouldn't forget that they can always also carry things like foot and mouth disease.
Right.
And these pigs can get in and bed down with beef cow herds and that sort of thing. So they would be a very big threat should any of those diseases be introduced into this country. And lastly, they're kind of nasty animals. And so there's a human safety aspect as well. So there have been some videos on YouTube and things like that where pigs have been chasing people. So there is a threat to human safety.
Absolutely. I've seen the tusks. Terrifying. And they're very smart animals. They're very cunning. They, we've covered on the show before about the importance of, if you're going to try to trap or dispose of these animals in some way, you have to get all of them, because it really is that important. You can't let any loose. But that is a huge challenge. So how long have we been dealing with this wild pig problem, and are we making any headway on it?
So a little bit of background. These animals were introduced as a farming venture back in the 1980s and 1990s. That was when agriculture was going through a very difficult time, and people thought diversification would be a good idea. I think it was originally thought that if these pigs escaped under cold prairie winter conditions, they wouldn't survive, but that was an error. They have survived, and they have bred in the wild and multiplied. So the real programs to control them have been going on for a while, but they've really ramped up in the last 3 or 4 years. So I think in the early 2020s, that's really when these programs became very, very active. And so they're run by each province across the country.
Mm-hmm. Now, okay, so walk us through a bit of what something like like your organization, Squeal on Pigs, is actively doing to try and identify or potentially eradicate this invasive species.
So Squeal on Pigs Manitoba is funded through the Sustainable Canadian Agricultural Partnership. So we are a non-government agency. Other provinces run their programs through either the Department of Agriculture or the Department of Conservation. Um, our program, as most of the others, also function this way. Encourage people in the public to report sightings of wild pigs. And so once we get a report of a sighting, we'll send our field technicians out to investigate that. And so they'll talk to all the landowners in that area. They'll look for signs of wild pigs. They'll fly a drone to see if they can spot them. And then if that looks like it holds some promise, then we'll start setting up a baiting station with a trail camera and see if we can start to attract them to an area. And once they're coming, then we'll set up a trap and remove the whole bunch.
That sounds, though, not quite a needle in a haystack, but pretty darn close. Is this a challenge to actually find these wild hogs?
Finding wild pigs is really our biggest challenge. If you look at some of the reports coming out of the US, they don't have any trouble at all finding wild pigs, and they have, hundreds and thousands and millions of these animals. Our situation in Canada is very, very different. And so it's important not to make generalizations based on US data. Finding wild pigs is our biggest challenge. And so we have to use a whole variety of techniques to do that. And really, that was part of the focus of the second Wild Pig Summit that was held in Manitoba last week.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so, and maybe let's touch on that event. As you mentioned, it happened last week, bringing people together to talk about this issue, to look forward as to what you do next. What came out of that meeting as far as the major action items of what happens next on this issue?
Well, let me give you a little bit of background. This is the second summit. The first one was held last year about the same time. So we had three different sessions. The first session was really a presentation virtually on different types of surveillance methods. So we went over things, new developments like how do you place trail cameras, flying drones, looking for environmental DNA in stream water, all of those types of things to try to find these animals because, as I mentioned, that's the single hardest thing. Then we carried on into a more focused area of investigation after that, in terms of each province was to put together a small team and start looking at ways that they might respond to a foreign animal disease outbreak in wild pigs. So there was a scenario and various roles and responsibilities were gone through. This is important because this is an area that really tends to fall between the cracks. Traditionally, we think of CFIA as the lead agency for foreign animal disease, and they are, but wild pigs they're not really agriculture, they're not really wildlife, and so it's going to involve, I think, quite a bit of determining of the various roles and responsibilities. Who's going to do the surveillance? Who's going to do the trapping? Who's directing the whole program? And how does this fit in with CFIA's role in the commercial herd? So there's a lot of work ahead of us to tackle that.
Well, and as you mentioned, we may sort of first think of obviously threats to our commercial hog industry, but as you mentioned, there's potential implications for other livestock species as well. And we certainly know that, there are crop farmers that have reported significant damage from these in the environment as well. So it does cross many sectors as well. It's not just a pig problem. This is an agriculture problem.
Absolutely, and that's really why it's going to involve a team approach. We've heard about forming teams for various threats to our country and our sovereignty, and so we're going to have to form a team to create a solution to the wild pig problem.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's a problem that we can tackle, and it's a problem that we can overcome.
Now, for those listening, as you mentioned, each province sort of deals with the wild pig problem somewhat differently, but there is some coordination, obviously. But for those who maybe have trail cams set up and have or suspect that they may have wild pigs on their property, where do they go? How do they report those sightings?
So each province has a way to report wild pig sightings. And so in Manitoba, we use a 1833 number. So it's 1833 spot pig. Or you can go to our website, squealonpigsmb.org. So we'll take in sightings from pigs in Manitoba, and then we'll do that whole follow-up activity. Our website really, we publish maps of where the sightings have been reported. So it's actually a very good way of gathering information. But in other provinces, you need to contact your own provincial control program.
Right.
So each province will have a slightly different way of doing that. But if you go to Animal Health Canada, their website, they will publish a list of where all the contact numbers and websites are in each province.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so if you suspect such things, please do that because this is a key part of this. Dr. Wayne Lees, thank you so much for joining me here on the show. A really serious issue. Glad to know that there's some coordination happening, and we'll be happy to follow along. And remember, everyone, to squeal on pigs. Thanks,
My
Dr. Lees.
pleasure. Thank you. Yeah.